So the Shwedagon Pagoda is 105 meters tall, and it is not gold leafed, it is gold plated. And there's somewhere between 30 and 60 tons of gold on the Shwedagon Pagoda. So it is the most valuable stupa. It's also, quite large. The Mahabodhi temple in Bodh is 54 meters. So this is nearly twice as high. And it also has another 61 smaller chedis around it as well. So in talking about what I found inspiring or conducive, the space to circumambulate around the chedi is quite vast. It's on average about 10 meters wide, and some parts is 20 and 30 meters wide, and it's white, excuse me, white marble, which is mopped and cleaned every day, and it's flat. And so, although the circumambulation route is about 430 meters, so to do 3 circumambulations does take a while, but it's a lovely place to do it. Probably take about a half an hour. And there's no commerce. It's on a hill. It's on a flattened part of a hill. There are 4 entrances, and there's shops on either side of these quite grand staircases. People can buy flowers, vases, various things. But when you get to the actual stupa, nobody is selling anything, and it's very clean. Another thing which surprised me was the cohesiveness of the aesthetic. There were only really 4 colors: gold, white, green, and brown. So when you look at this chedi, it's gold. And now in the past, I'm not particularly excited by gold myself. I don't get that excited about it, but I like stone, I like bricks, I like carved wood, I like kind of serene tones. But one of the things that I noticed, which is really nice about a chedi that is covered in gold, is that it looks beautiful in every type of light and every type of weather. You can see in this picture that it's a gray day. We went in the monsoon, and it rained literally every day. But even when the sky is quite dark and gray, the chedi itself is beautiful. So when you gaze upon it, it's always uplifting. And in terms of recollecting that people have given up their personal wealth and offered it to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, a symbol of enlightenment, then it's quite a lovely contemplation. So these are smaller stupas that are around the base of the larger stupa. I think there are 61 of them. And those ones are gold leafed, but the big one behind it is gold plated. Apparently there are 5,445 diamonds on top of the chedi in a kind of a lotus shaped reliquary thing. It's encrusted with 5,400 diamonds. So another thing that was interesting and nice about this chedi is at the 4 entrances, north, south, east, and west, there's a vihara. Yeah. These are viharas to the Buddhas of this eon. So there's Kakusanda, Konagamana, Kassapa, and Gotama. And we don't actually think very much about the previous Buddhas before our Buddha. We often think about Maitreya. We want to meet Maitreya. We think about Gotama. We're grateful to Lord Buddha. But we don't often think about the 3 who came before him in this, what they call the fortunate eon. And so it was really nice to have the means through which to do that, to be prompted and to be reminded. And I had quite a palpable experience sitting meditation in front of the image of Kassapa Buddha. So the image of Kassapa Buddha was in the Kakusanda Konagamana Kassapa, the 3rd of the viharas. So these viharas are in front of the chedi and facing the chedi. And I was sitting meditation quite close to this Buddha statue. And I just had this realization. The reason we have the merit to meet this Buddha, this Buddha's lineage and this Buddha's teachings and have the opportunity to practice is that we have paid respects to the previous ones, or at least their disciples, and we have practiced before. That's why we have the merit to meet the teachings again and have the opportunity to practice. And so there was just this lovely sense of gratitude to the Buddhas of the past, and a sense of being able to thank them for the enormous effort that they put into being bodhisattvas and becoming Buddhas and being a refuge object and being a field of merit for beings to make merit with, so that they keep meeting with auspicious conditions. And so particularly with the Kassapa Buddha, I had a strong sense that I may have met him and paid respects to him, and that was one of the reasons I was able to meet this Buddha's teachings and become a bhikkhu, and I just felt a lot of love and gratitude to him. And so it's interesting when we can feel faith is the first of the five spiritual powers, and a lot of modern people understand faith as meaning believing the teachings, having confidence in the teachings, but faith is also, when it's powerful, there's a quality of love there, there's a quality of gratitude there, and there's a quality of devotion. And if it's not balanced by wisdom, that can go a bit off. But if it is balanced by wisdom, it can be a very, very powerful thing. And in terms of why that is relevant to practice, if people want to experience states of samadhi and insights into voidness or emptiness, the other shore, nibbana, if people are hoping to have insights into perceiving impermanence of everything to the point that the mind lets go, one has to have faith that there's something better. One has to have faith that when one lets go, there's going to be benefits. And these qualities of love, devotion, gratitude, trust, when they get really healthy, when they get powerful, when that's present, as well as the mindfulness, as well as some concentration, as well as some wisdom, then it's possible, because it really is a bit of a leap of faith to let go. And on one level, we're really frustrated with the hindrances. It's really tedious, the same old sensual cravings, the same old irritations, the same grudges, the same doubts, the same sleepiness, all of the frequent flyers in our minds. Like, on one level, we're fed up with them. On another level, they're our friends. They're like, it's what we know. We're familiar with them. And there is some fear of actually letting them go. And so one of the benefits of devotional practice and pilgrimage and increasing your faith and expressing your faith is that it gives that, it nourishes that capacity and that trust, so that you really want to let go, and you know that when you do, because as a meditation teacher who's taught a good number of people, people come and tell me that they sometimes experience some peacefulness, and then a moment of fear comes in, and they come back to a more ordinary level of consciousness. And so one of the ways an antidote to that fear is to develop a deep trust. And something that helps us develop trust is feeling loving devotion and gratitude, at least in my experience. And so at this beautiful holy site, so one of the things that's possible there is to actually order a stupa replica of the Shwedagon and offer it to the Shedi. So this is approximately 1,000 roses that we had to order it a week beforehand, and they leave it there for 3 days. So we offered one, and then I offered one on behalf of Malin, my student and friend, who was close to death at the time, has since passed away. And we offered some for some other people who sponsored them, Linda and Cliff. And, Chin and Note, who came with us, also offered one. So when you do this, when you make these beautiful gestures, you're offering a nice color, a nice object, a nice fragrance, and it does inspire some lovely, expansive mind states of a little bit, I don't know what you call it, ebullient, joyful. And of course, once you've done it, you can recollect it. So we offered 4 of these and they left them there for 3 days. So in the coming days, a lot of other people enjoyed the vision of the flowers as well. And a lot of people taking pictures with them. But you can see behind the little viharas as well, each of those has a little Buddha inside them. What the story is behind these is oftentimes people have built a Buddha and a little vihara in honor of their parents when one of their parents passes away. So there's a lot of these little shrines around. Again, you have to order it. This is one of the benefits of I spent 2 weeks there. One of the benefits of, and often people don't do this. If people go to Burma, they'll go to Yangon, they'll go to Mandalay, they'll go to Pukam, they'll go to see various holy sites. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to, if this is the second most potent one in the world, I wanted to experience it and get to know it. And also in terms of doing a bit of reconnaissance, a bit of research for possible future pilgrimages, I also need to know that it's a safe place, and I need to know how to relate to it so that if I do lead a group, what we will actually do there. So I could go. I went with a small group of people that if we did die, no one would hold a grudge. We're all willing to go. We're willing to go with faith, and we all believers in karma. So Myanmar does have a military government which isn't very well loved by the populace, and there is sometimes some violent skirmishes. So it's potentially dangerous, particularly in the rural areas and border areas. My own intuition was that if we stayed in the big city around the holy site, we would be safe. And we were. We had a very nice time. But you can see what I was saying. You see this lovely white marble floor, this lovely green and brown aesthetic. It's just like that the whole way around. And there's also these little shelters, like there's those buildings behind that have places to sit. So you don't have to sit in the 4 viharas to the representing the 4 Buddhas. You can find a quiet place slightly off to the side and in the breeze and sit. And another thing that was really wonderful about this holy site is that there's a real respect for sitting. One of my concerns about going to the Shwedagon was the Burmese chanting in Bogaya can be quite grating, and they tend to use large speakers and chant very loudly, and I don't particularly like how it sounds. We're all subject to our preferences. It's not my favorite chanting. And so I was thinking, oh God, if it's going to be that noise all day, that might be a bit challenging. But anyway, we'll give it a go. And it turns out that people chant very, very quietly. You can hardly hear them out of a genuine respect for the fact that people next to them are sitting. And it was really nice to experience this, that a culture that understands that people come to holy sites to meditate and are quiet and respectful to people sitting around them was really beautiful. Another beautiful thing was seeing the local people dressed traditionally, and especially young people, and coming and practicing their devotions. So these kind of traditional woven skirts and blouses, people come and offer their flowers and dress very respectfully. It's quite beautiful. Seeing these people everywhere you look, young men. You don't often see a group of teenagers looking so well presented. And so yeah, I enjoyed it. And so what I worked out as for my practice there was to do 1 hour and a quarter of meditation in each of those viharas over a period of about 6 hours each day. So I did manage about 5 hours of formal sitting meditation most days. And just got a bit of a sense for the place, how to offer the flowers, how to offer the butter lamps, where to sit. So beautiful at nighttime. Look at this. I mean, that is the quality of gold, right? It's so reflective and so beautiful. It's like we did chant the auspicious paritas, and we chanted 108 itapisos on the last evening, like looking at the chedi. This was our vision that we had before us, as well as the butter lamps that we had lit. And it's just a really nice thing to have done, because I probably remember it until I die. Such a beautiful impression. And just to think this is a symbol of enlightenment, a symbol of transcendence. It's also a symbol of the faith of the tens of thousands of people who have offered gold, relinquished their personal wealth out of respect and gratitude. And yeah, very beautiful. So there may be a pilgrimage to Yangon, Shwedagon in the future, if some of you are interested. But we're going to Bodh Gaya, Sarnath, Ajanta, and Ellora in January 1st before that. But I did my reconnaissance anyway, and I can attest to the fact that it is a wonderful holy site. I guess another thing which is really interesting was it's purely Theravadan. There's no images of Ganesha or Kuan Yin. I mean, I quite like other deities. It's one of the things I enjoy about India. I like a rich spiritual scene. But it was really nice to see just that the cohesiveness of the aesthetic and the focus of the devotion being those four Buddhas. And to see how much love and devotion it still had a magical. Theravada sometimes has a reputation of being a bit boring, and okay, I like boring, but boring can be peaceful. But it's a really alive with a lot of very wonderful, uplifting energy. I'm sure there are many thousands of devas circumambulating as well. So I would say that it is the most beautiful, the most clean, and the most conducive to circumambulation and sitting of any chedi I've ever been to. So highly recommended as a practice site. The only real downside was 33 Celsius and 85% humidity. You do sweat a lot. You do sweat a lot when it's above 30 and above 80% humidity. So there was that issue. And I mixed some fragrances to offer to the various Buddhas. I made an amber, sandalwood, and rose essential oils mixed with water and offered the fragrance to the Buddha. And by my third sit, when I myself was getting a bit smelly, I would offer a bit to myself and and then offer some to the Buddha, because I didn't want to offer a bad smell to the Buddha. So, so yes, I recommend it, and good to recollect previous Buddhas and pay respects with gratitude to the sasana that we're currently benefiting from, and set the aspiration to keep meeting the Buddha Sasana until we have liberated ourselves from the power of greed, hatred, and delusion. Paying respects to relics, enlightened beings, various holy sites will nourish that aspiration, increase the likelihood. So I do recommend the Shwedagon Pagoda if you have an opportunity to go there. So I offer that for your reflection. I hope something was helpful. Yes, this is. I chose the flowers for my. I know we look a bit like bridesmaids, bride of the Buddha, and I made them take this picture. Anyway, next picture. The one day we got some blue sky. Here I am offering the flowers. That's the point. I offer the flowers to the Buddha. So you can choose your roses of choice. It's very inexpensive. I think it was 5,000 kyak is 60 baht for about 10 roses. $2 for 10 roses. Yeah. So this is one of the Buddha images inside the viharas. Very old bronze Buddha. So this was, believe it or not, the view from my hotel room. This was, I have some very skilled students who know how to check Adobe or whatever it is. What's that? The place where you check where to stay. And they found this hotel that had this room that had this view of the Chedi. So it's very nice to wake up in the morning to see the stupa in the morning and the evening every day. Just explain a little bit about this. You see this in all Buddhist cultures, where you see a Buddha dressed in kingly attire, it's kind of considered to be, the Buddha is considered the Dharma Raja, the Dharma king. And apparently for people who had the divine eye, they could see in the Buddha's subtle body that he really did have rings, bracelets, armlets, necklaces, anklets, and a crown there. And that was a symbol of the fact that all of the parami had been fully cultivated. So it's one of those things that you either have faith in or you don't, you either understand or you don't, but it is in all Buddhist cultures. The Buddha is a Dharma king, and the Buddha is perfect in accumulation of merit and cultivation of qualities. Is fully perfected. So the jewels, the crown, the layers of necklaces, that's what they represent. They represent the fullness of the parami. On the level of his mind, which is established in Nibbana, he's not attached to any of it. He's perfected it all, he's accumulated it all, and he's not attached to it. But he is the perfect one. And that's what the word Tathagata means thus come and thus gone. The Buddha is sometimes referred to as the Tathagata. And that's what it means. It means all of this accomplishment, all of this perfection, all of this vast merit, it's there. And the mind has let it go and abides in voidness and doesn't grasp at any of it. So that's what we think. When we see a Buddha like this, that's what we think. We see the face is aloof, it's peaceful, it's serene, but there is all of this perfection as well. And perfection that Buddha praised most highly was the miracle of being able to teach, knowing the appropriate way to teach the beings according to their tendencies and capacities, and obviously helped many millions of beings to be liberated. So that's what the ornaments represent. Some of the fabulous handicrafts that I'm also a fan of. We did go to a wholesale market on 3 occasions. It's just 20-minute drive from our hotel. And Ajahn Yaniko, who was with me, and Ajahn Stewart from Wat Pap Chan, each got a little Buddha, little Kuan Yin, jade mala. Nice to help the local artisans and the local economy. And there was that young painter, fellow artist type. We were chatting about painting. The same market that has the statues and the jade also has nice paintings. So I hope that something I've shared about the Shwedagon Pagoda and practice of devotion and pilgrimage has been helpful. May we all grow in Dhamma. May we all be free from suffering.